Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking all about Grok.
Grok, Grok, Grok. It seems like it's on everyone's mind, and for good reason.
Yeah, Elon Musk's XAI really seems to have struck a chord with this one. I mean, an AI that's both helpful and funny.
Not an easy combination to pull off.
Right. So we thought we'd take a closer look, see what all the fuss is about.
Well, it's certainly not your run-of-the-mill chatbot.
That's for sure. Okay, so for our listeners who maybe haven't been glued to the AI news cycle 24/7, what exactly is Grok?
Well, in a nutshell, it's this AI chatbot developed by xAI, Musk's AI company, but it's designed to be a lot more than just a helpful assistant.
Yeah, it's got this whole personality thing going on.
It does, and I think that's a big part of its appeal. It's like almost like it's channeling the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy at times.
I was thinking the same thing, that
Yeah.
kind of dry sci-fi humor.
Exactly. And that's not just for kicks either. Turns out a little humor can actually make learning and understanding things a whole lot easier.
Which is interesting because when you think about it, a lot of AI out there is super serious, all about, efficiency and getting things done.
Right, very utilitarian. But Grok seems to be tapping into something different.
It is. Okay, so humor aside, what are we talking about here in terms of what it can actually do?
So one of the big things that sets Grok apart is its conversational depth.
Conversational depth. Okay, break that down for me a bit.
So you know how with a lot of AI, you ask a question, you get a pretty generic response, almost like it's reading off a script?
Yeah, definitely. Been there, done that.
Right. Well, Grok's different. It actually remembers what you've talked about before.
Oh, so it's keeping track of the conversation.
It is. It can even use that context to give you more specific, personalized answers. Like it feels much more like you're having a real conversation.
That's pretty wild. I'm trying to picture what that would even look like. So it's not just spitting out facts, it's actually engaging.
Exactly. It's engaging, it's building on what you've said before, and it's all happening in real time.
I've got to say, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, and it gets even wilder because Grok is actually plugged into the live feed from X, formerly Twitter.
Wait, hold on. It's connected to all of that.
It is. It's constantly getting this stream of information about what's happening, what people are talking about, the latest trends.
Wow. So its knowledge base is basically always up to date.
Exactly. Which means it can give you incredibly current information on pretty much anything.
Okay, but how does it even handle all that data? I mean,
Yeah.
just reading through my X feed sometimes is enough to make my head spin.
Well, that's where the really advanced stuff comes in. Grok uses these sophisticated algorithms to analyze and synthesize all that information. It can pick out patterns, identify trends, even figure out the overall sentiment around a topic.
So it's not just like regurgitating random tweets, it's actually making sense of it all.
That's right. And that ability to understand context, to see the bigger picture, that's what allows it to have these really nuanced, meaningful conversations.
I'm starting to see why people are so excited about this.
Oh, yeah, this is just scratching the surface. We haven't even gotten into all the crazy ways people are already using it.
Okay, well, don't leave us hanging. Spill the beans. What kind of stuff are we talking about?
Well, let's start with education. Some teachers are already using Grok to create these super interactive learning experiences.
Really? Like what?
Well, imagine you're in history class, right? And instead of just reading about, say, the American Revolution, you can actually ask Grok questions about it, almost like you're having a conversation with someone who is actually there.
So it's like bringing history to life.
Exactly. And it's not just about making learning more fun, it's also about getting students to think critically.
How so?
Because Grok can pull information from so many different sources, it can present different perspectives on an issue, which means students have to really think about what they're reading, evaluate the information, and form their own opinions.
Oh, that's pretty powerful.
It is. And it's not just history either.
So it's almost like having a personalized tutor.
In a way, yeah. One that can adapt to different learning styles and subject matter. But education is just one piece of the puzzle. We're also seeing Grok make a big splash in content creation.
I was just going to ask you about that. I've heard people are using it to, like, brainstorm ideas, write different kinds of content, even co-author pieces with this unique AI flair.
That's right. It's like having this super-powered brainstorming partner. You can bounce ideas off of it, get help overcoming writer's block, explore different creative avenues.
So it's not about replacing human creativity, but more about, like, augmenting it.
Exactly. Taking our own creative abilities and kind of supercharging them with the power of AI.
That's pretty cool.
Right.
Okay, but what about those of us who aren't writers or artists or teachers. What about the more practical problem-solving stuff?
Well, Grok's got you covered there too. People are using it to debug code, brainstorm business strategies, analyze data, even get insights into personal dilemmas.
Seriously. So it's
It-
like a digital consultant.
Kind of, yeah. It can help you look at a problem from all these different angles and come up with solutions you might not have even thought of.
That's incredible.
It is. But it's also important to remember it's still just a tool.
Right. We can't just blindly follow its advice.
Exactly. It's on us to use our own judgment, consider all the factors, and not just take Grok's suggestions as gospel.
I hear you. Okay, so for our listeners who are now probably dying to get their hands on Grok, how do they actually use it?
Well, it's surprisingly straightforward, especially if you're already an X user. You can just find it right there in the app or on the website.
And once you're in,
Mm-hmm.
any tips for, making the most of it?
Honestly, the best thing to do is just dive in. Ask any question you have, no matter how big or small, no matter how silly or serious. That's the beauty of Grok. You can literally ask it anything.
No need to be intimidated.
Not at all. It's designed to be super user-friendly, even for people who are totally new to AI.
That's good to know. But let's say you do have something specific in mind. Can you, customize Grok? Tell it what kind of response you're looking for.
Oh, absolutely. It's really adaptable. You can tell it what tone you prefer, whether it's formal, casual, or even if you want it to be, funny.
So if I want that whole Hitchhiker's Guide vibe, I can just ask for it.
Exactly. You can also give it specific instructions or tell it what kind of information you're looking for. It's really about making it work for you.
That's pretty impressive. I'm starting to get why people are calling Grok a game changer. It's really unlike anything we've seen before.
It really is. But before we get too carried away with all the possibilities, we do need to talk about the other side of the coin.
The potential downsides.
Exactly. Because with any powerful tool, especially one based on AI, there are some important ethical considerations we need to keep in mind.
Okay, I'm definitely interested in hearing more about that. But we're actually just about out of time for this segment.
Yeah, I guess time flies when you're grokking.
I guess it does. We'll be back after a short break to delve into the responsible use of AI. Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive on Grok. Now, before we all rush off to ask it the meaning of life, the universe, and everything.
We need to have a little chat about responsible AI use.
Right, because like with any powerful tool, there's always the potential for misuse.
Exactly. It's like you wouldn't just hand someone a chainsaw without, giving them some safety tips first.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Grok, what are some of the things we should be keeping in mind?
Well, first and foremost, it's crucial to remember that Grok, for all its brilliance, is still a tool.
A tool, not like a magic genie.
Exactly. It's amazing at processing information, but that information ultimately comes from us, from the real world, with all its biases, its inaccuracies, its, messiness.
So even though Grok might sound super confident in its answers,
You can't just assume it's always right,
always double check.
especially if the information is coming from X.
Right, because social media, not exactly known for being the most reliable source of information.
Exactly. So healthy skepticism is key.
Got it. So what else should we be thinking about?
Well, this ties into the bigger issue of AI limitations. It's important to remember that even though Grok can hold a conversation, it doesn't actually think the way we do. Meaning, it doesn't have morals, it doesn't have ethics, it doesn't have that gut feeling that tells us when something just isn't right.
Right, because it's basically running on data.
Right.
Not life experience.
Exactly. So when we're using Grok, it's on us to ask those ethical questions. Like, is this a fair use of this technology? Am I respecting other people's information? Could this output be harmful if it falls into the wrong hands?
So it's not just about, can I do this with Grok, but should I do this with Grok?
Exactly. And that brings us to another really crucial point, which is data privacy. I mean, Grok, by design, has access to a massive amount of information, especially from X.
So we need to be careful about how we're using it.
Absolutely. Think about the potential impact on other people's privacy. Even if something is technically publicly available, doesn't mean it's ethical to go digging around in it.
Right. Like, I wouldn't want someone using Grok to analyze all my old tweets.
Exactly. So even though we're interacting with a machine, we need to remember that there are real people on the other end of that data.
It's all about being respectful, even in the digital world.
Exactly. And that leads to the broader issue of consent. Just because we can access and analyze data doesn't mean we should, especially not without the consent of the people involved.
It's like using Grok responsibly also means respecting boundaries,
Yeah.
both digital and human.
Exactly. It's not just about all the cool features and capabilities, it's about how we wield them.
Okay, I'm getting a much better sense now of what responsible AI use looks like. But all this talk about data privacy and consent, it makes me wonder about the role of regulation. I mean, are governments even keeping up with all these advancements in AI?
Well, it's a tough question. Technology often moves a lot faster than legislation, and AI is definitely no exception. But I do think we're seeing a growing awareness among policymakers that we need some ethical and legal frameworks to deal with these unique challenges.
That's good to hear, because without some kind of oversight, it's easy to imagine AI being used for harmful purposes, or, the benefits of AI only going to a select few.
Exactly. We need to make sure that AI is developed and used in a way that's fair, transparent, and accountable. And that's going to require a lot of collaboration between developers, policymakers, and society as a whole.
Sounds like a pretty big task.
It is. But it's also incredibly important. The choices we make today about how we develop and use AI are going to have a huge impact on our future.
No pressure, right.
Right. But the good news is, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to AI.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen how Grok can be used for good in education, in content creation, in problem solving.
Exactly. And I think that's what we need to focus on. How can we harness the power of AI to make the world a better place?
I like that. So for our listeners who are now probably feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension about all of this, what's the one key takeaway you want them to remember?
That's a good question. I think the most important thing is to approach AI, and Grok specifically, with a sense of both curiosity and caution.
Be open to the possibilities, but don't just blindly accept everything it tells you.
Exactly. Do your own research, think critically, and always remember that AI is a tool. It's up to us to use it wisely.
And responsibly.
And responsibly. AI is constantly evolving, and we're just at the beginning of this journey. It's an exciting time, but it's also a time that calls for careful consideration and, well, a bit of courage, too.
Courage.
Yeah, courage to ask the tough questions, to challenge assumptions, and to make sure that AI is used for the benefit of all humankind.
Well said. And with that, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into Grok. We've covered a lot of ground today, from its mind-blowing capabilities to the ethical considerations that come with using any powerful tool. But the conversation doesn't end here. I encourage you to continue exploring the world of AI, to ask questions, to engage in discussions, and to be an active participant in shaping this exciting and rapidly evolving field.
And remember, the future of AI isn't predetermined. It's something we're all creating together. So let's make it a future we can all be proud of.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration of the world of cutting-edge tech. So it sounds like we really need to be thoughtful about how we approach AI. It's not just about the cool stuff it can do, but also about the impact it can have.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're all kind of figuring this out together, navigating this new landscape.
And it's a landscape that's changing really fast. So how do we even begin to make sure we're using AI responsibly?
Well, I think education is a big part of it. The more people understand about AI, about how it works, about its limitations.
The better equipped they'll be to use it wisely.
Exactly. And it's not just about technical knowledge either. It's about understanding the ethical implications, the potential risks, and the societal impact of AI.
Right, because it's not just a technology, it's something that's going to shape our world in really profound ways.
It is. And I think we need to start having these conversations early on, in schools, in communities, even in our own families.
So it's not just up to the experts to figure this out.
Definitely not. This is something that affects all of us, and we all have a role to play in making sure that AI is used for good.
I like that. Okay, so let's say I'm someone who's totally new to all of this. What are some practical steps I can take to be a responsible AI user?
Well, first of all, don't be afraid to ask questions. There are tons of resources out there. Books, articles, podcasts like this one.
Shameless plug.
There's a lot of information available, so take advantage of it. Learn as much as you can about AI, about the different types of AI, about the ways it's being used, both the good and the bad.
So step 1, educate yourself.
Exactly. Step 2, be critical. Don't just take everything you hear or read about AI at face value.
Even if it comes from a super smart AI like Grok.
Especially then, remember, AI is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. So think critically about the information you're getting, consider the source, and don't be afraid to ask for a second opinion.
That's good advice for anything, really.
It is. And finally, I would say, be proactive. Get involved in the conversation about AI ethics. Share your thoughts, your concerns, your ideas.
So it's not just about being a passive consumer of AI, it's about actively shaping its development and use.
Exactly. The future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we're all creating together. And the more voices we have in that conversation, the better.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. I think I've learned a lot about AI and about my own role in shaping its future.
Me too.
Well, folks, that's about all the time we have for today.
Time flies when you're contemplating the future of humanity.
It really does.
Mm.
But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final thought. AI is a powerful tool, and it has the potential to change our world in amazing ways. But it's up to us to make sure that those changes are for the better.
So, as you go forth and explore the world of AI, do so with curiosity, with caution, and with a commitment to using this technology responsibly. The future is in our hands.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.